So a Christmas miracle has occurred. Or better yet, probably two Christmas miracles. First, the weather has actually dropped in Florida, so it's probably now like 50-something degrees out, and it's windy and chilly, hence the winter gear. Second thing, Santa came early with a bunch of books. A couple of these I did talk about in previous videos, but there are some new ones that I want to share. So I figured I could go through all of these and sort of read you the synopsis and give you my initial thoughts, and we can make this a little tiny Christmas book haul. So the first one that I have is this very neat book called The Stars Did Wander Darkly. And I think according to my parents, this is supposed to be a middle grade fantasy horror novel. I'm kind of getting a little bit of Over the Garden Wall vibes and maybe a little Riverdale or Wednesday. One of those, but I'm definitely very much getting the young adult horror mystery vibes. Either way, I'm still very excited to read it, and that cover is just gorgeous. So I'll go ahead and read you the synopsis. Maybe Archie Coombs has been watching too many horror movies. All of a sudden, the most ordinary things have taken on a sinister edge. A penny on the doormat. A man in a brown suit under a street lamp. The persistent sound of an axe chopping in the middle of the night. He keeps telling himself that this is Seaham, a sleepy seaside town where nothing ever happens. Or at least nothing did, until his dad's construction company opened up the cliff beneath the old, some say cursed, Langdon place. Soon, though, he and his friends can't deny it. More and more of the adults in the town are acting strangely, and the ancient long-buried evil has been unleashed upon the community, and it is up to the kids to stop it before it's too late. So yeah, that is The Stars Did Wander Darkling. So like I said, I'm getting very Wednesday vibes out of this, but I still am very excited, and this looks really cool. So I'm very excited to read this. Now this next one I actually did talk about in my previous video for books I wanted to read in 2023. And now I have the perfect excuse to start the new year with the queen of books herself, Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is Malibu Rising. So I'm very, 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 very excited to read this. This has been on my TBR for about a year or two now. So this is just a perfect excuse for me to finally read it. So, synopsis time. Malibu, August 1983, is the day of Nina Riva's annual end of summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Rivas. Nina, the talented server and supermodel, brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister, Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Meg Riva, who, if you remember, is from Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. But before... Oh, I did not see that coming. Oh my god. Somebody called Talking Heads because they're burning down a house. Okay, enough of my bad puns. But before that first spark, in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shaped this family's generations will all come rising to the surface. Malibu Rising is a story about one unforgettable night in the life of the family. The night they each have to choose what they will keep from the people who made them and what they will leave behind. Yeah, so I was not expecting a fire to happen in this, just from the blurb, so this is giving me very much Kardashians meets that X movie from back in like the early 2010s. Like that really huge party movie where it's supposed to be like found footage. I'm getting vibes of that. But either way, I'm very excited and I might be starting off the year with this. So let's see where we'll go from there. And the next book I have can finally complete my reading of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. This is the last book, As Good as Dead. So we're finally concluding Pip's journey, and I need to know what's going to be happening so I can figure out how it's all going to conclude. You'll never think of Good Girls the same way again. Pip is about to head to college, but she is still haunted by the way her last investigation ended. She's used to online death threats in the wake of her viral true crime podcast. But she can't help noticing an anonymous person who keeps asking her, "Who will look for you when you're the one who disappears?" Soon the threats escalate and Pip realizes that someone is following her in real life. When she starts to find connections between her stalker and the local serial killer caught 6 years ago, she wonders if maybe the wrong man is behind bars. Police refuse to act, so Pip only has one choice: find the suspect herself or be the next victim. As the deadly game plays out, Pip discovers that everything in her small town is coming full circle. As she doesn't find the answers, this time, she will be the one who disappears. I'm scared. And I love it. Literally, I was devastated after the second book. I was reading it in a bathtub while I was finishing, and I nearly sobbed my eyes out. It was great. I'm just ready to be emotionally devastated by what Holly Jackson has to do to conclude the series. So I might wind up finishing it this year, or I might do this after Malibu Rising. So we're going to figure out where I'm going to put this book in place. But very excited to read it. I want to finish the series so bad, and now I finally can, so yay! So this next one I have is not necessarily a fiction book. This is actually a book about food called The Course of History. So I'll give you the blurb just to see what it's about. Some of the most consequential decisions in history were decided at the dinner table, accompanied and perhaps influenced by copious amounts of food and drink. This fascinating book explores 10 of the most pivotal meals, presenting the context, key participants, table talk, and outcomes of each, and offers unique insight into the minds and appetites of some of history's most famous and notorious characters, including Bonnie Prince Charlie, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, Adolf Hitler, Winston Churchill, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, and Richard Nixon. Feasting on leg of lamb, wine, and whiskey, Bonnie Prince Charlie doomed the Jacobite army at Culloden. A uniquely American menu and vintage wines lubricated the conversations between the rivals of Jefferson and Hamilton, leading to the founding of the U.S. financial system and the location of the nation's capital in Washington. After Schweinswurst, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, and sauerkraut with Adolf Hitler and his Berghof residence, Austrian Chancellor Kurt von Schoening agreed to the complete integration of Austria into the Third Reich. Celebrity chef Tony Singh has researched the menus and recipes for all 10 dinners down to their last detail, recreating 55 recipes from soup to dessert, and lists the accompanying wines and spirits as well. Alright, so this seems very much like a food history meets recipe book, and sort of talking about what critical moments were discussed and why does this idea of having this dinner and sitting down and having conversations with people really influences how we make decisions. So I very much am a foodie, and I'm trying to be a better host about hosting small parties and trying to make meaningful conversations, and not necessarily like changing the world tactics or huge business things, but more just trying to figure out how we interact as humans when we're in these small, intimate gatherings. So this will be quite the interesting read, and I can't wait to share my thoughts on that. This next one I have talked about in previous videos, and I don't think I can wait to read this until tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Yes, the Gabrielle Zavine powerhouse of a book is finally in my hot little hands, and I'm very, 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 very excited to crack this one open. So we'll see how this is. So I'll give you a little bit of a synopsis. On a bitter cold day in the December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Mazur exits a subway car and sees, amid the hordes of people waiting on the platform, Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment, she pretends she hasn't heard him. Then she turns, and a game begins. A legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimate since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, they have created their first blockbuster, Ichigo. Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old, Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich. But these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to Venice Beach, California, and the lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zavine's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved, and to love. Yet, it is a love story, but is not the one you have read before. Yeah, Taylor Jenkins Reid, I'm sorry, but this might be the crowning prize that I read before you. I'm sorry. Taylor Jenkins Reid, please don't come after me. So it's going to be a very tough battle to see who's going to be the starter book of 2023. Another one that I have is going to be not one I've necessarily have seen a lot of online, but one that is going to be quite the interesting read, and it is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. One of my coworkers was actually talking about this book, and I believe one of my friends in high school read it. I'm not really 100% sure what it's about, but it seems that the pages are very much done in a way that it changes the format every other couple pages or so. So if you kind of want to look and see, how cool is that? That's freaking cool. There is a premise. Okay. Years ago, when House of Leaves was first being passed around, it was nothing more than a badly bundled heap of paper, parts of which would occasionally surface on the internet. No one could have anticipated the small but devoted following this terrifying story would soon command. Starting with an odd assortment of marginalized youth, musicians, tattoo artists, programmers, strippers, environmentalists, and adrenaline junkies, the book eventually made its way into the hands of older generations, who not only found themselves in those strangely arranged pages, but also discovered a way back into the lives of their estranged children. Now, for the first time, this astonishing novel is made available in book form, complete with the original colored words, vertical footnotes, and newly added second and third appendices. The story remains unchanged, focusing on a young family that moves into a small home on the Ash Tree Lane, where they discover something terribly wrong. The house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Of course, neither Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist Will Davidson nor his companion, Karen Green, was prepared to face the consequences of that impossibility, until the day their two little children wandered off and their voices eerily began to return another story of creature darkness, of an ever-growing abyss behind a closet door, and that unholy growl, which soon enough would tear through their walls and consume all of their dreams. This is spooky. This is quite spooky. This is going to be very intriguing, and I cannot wait, and I like how this looks like a photoreal at the end. Love it. And speaking of haunting books, the last one I have, I've been eyeballing for quite some time now, and it is from the king of horror himself, Stephen King. This is Fairy Tale, the newly highly anticipated book that just came out by him, and I finally have it. So Charlie Reed looks like a regular high school kid, great at baseball and football, a decent student, but he carries a heavy load. His mom was killed in a hit-and-run accident when he was 7, and grief drove his dad to drink. Charlie learned how to take care of himself and his dad. When Charlie is 17, he meets a dog named Radar and her aging master, Howard Bowditch, a recluse in a big house at the top of a big hill, with a locked shed in the backyard. Sometimes strange sounds emerge from it. Charlie starts doing odd jobs for Mr. Bowditch and loses his heart to Radar. Then, when Bowditch dies, he leaves Charlie a cassette tape telling a story no one would believe. What Bowditch knows, and has kept secret all of his life, is that inside a shed is a portal to another world. King's storytelling and fairy tale soars. This is a magnificent and terrifying tale in which good is pitted against overwhelming evil, and a heroic boy and his dog must lead a battle. Early in the pandemic, King asked himself, what could you write that would make you happy? As if my imagination had been waiting for the question to be asked. I saw a vast deserted city, deserted but alive. I saw the empty streets, the haunted buildings, a gargoyle head lying overturned in the street. I saw smashed statues of what I didn't know, but I eventually found out. I saw a huge spiraling palace with glass towers so high their tips pierced the clouds. Those images released a story I wanted to tell. So that's everything I've got, and I am just very fortunate that I am able to do these videos and to share my love of reading for you guys, because BookTube has honestly just been so great, and I've really gotten into it for the past year and a half, and now the fact that I'm able to start doing these kinds of videos is super special, and I'm very fortunate to be part of the BookTube community. So thank you all so very much for the constant support and for encouraging me every day to keep reading and to be the best version of myself that I can be. I hope you have a great holiday season, have a great new year, and I will catch you in 2023. Stay safe, my friends. Goodbye.